On April 3rd, I posted my last software update video. Now, about 7 weeks later, I'm going to install the 2024.14.6 update. I got the message that the software was available. I started the download using Wi-Fi. Then I updated using the app. Feel free to play at 1.25x to 1.5x speed if you wish. By the way, here's a chart showing how many Model 3s have this update as of the middle of May. So let's get started.
Hello and welcome to my video today. I'm going to be covering the software update 2024.14.6 that I received the other day on my Tesla Model 3. In fact, I want to give you a little bit of background on that. It's a 2018 Long Range rear-wheel drive, and it was acquired 6 years ago yesterday. I currently have about 71,000 miles on it, and it has a VIN of 14,000. Since this is a car with a 2.5 hardware CPU, I don't get a lot of the new updates, and I'm going to try my best to explain what those updates are if you have newer cars. And if you've watched my videos over the last several years, I concentrate on the Model 3 and Model Y since they are very similar. I leave the Model S and X to other people who own those cars. So for today's video, I'm going to be covering the release notes that I have on my screen, as well as undocumented features. There is a lot to cover today, and I'll try to explain it as best I can. When you look at the release notes at the top here, 2024.14.6, there's also other minor releases before it that I didn't receive. So the 14.3 and the 14.0 are all going to be covered since those are all new for me. There's a list of minor fixes. They usually don't detail what those are. Trip progress bar. Below the turn-by-turn list in your navigation, you'll now see a progress bar that changes as you drive closer to your destination or next stop. The progress bar also reflects live traffic conditions on your route if you have online routing turned on. In the settings, go to Navigation, Online Routing, and make sure that's turned on. This also requires premium connectivity. For example, if I go into the navigation screen here, and I pick a destination, here is the information.
Here I have circled the trip progress bar.
This area here really hasn't changed that much. So it's basically an information update as you're doing your route. The next item on the list is Audible. If I click on that, listen to thousands of Audible originals, audiobooks, and podcasts. Pick up where you left off and listen seamlessly between your device and Tesla. Scan the QR code to log into your Audible account or try it out with a selection of free audiobooks and podcasts. Requires premium connectivity. Next, we have Spotify queue and playback speed. You can now sync your Spotify queue across vehicles and devices and adjust playback speed. Next, we have preview of Sentry Mode recordings. When Sentry Mode triggers your vehicle alarm and records an event, you can immediately preview a brief clip of the recordings on your phone. Press and hold the notification to watch the recording. In your vehicle settings, you must have a safety dash cam turned on. This requires a USB with sufficient memory plugged into the vehicle, Tesla app 4.3.1.5 or newer on iPhone, and premium connectivity. Preview videos are end-to-end encrypted and can't be accessed by Tesla. Next, we have speed camera chime. To hear a chime when you're approaching a speed camera, turn on navigation speed camera chime in your vehicle settings. You must have online routing turned on, and this also requires premium connectivity. So if I go into the menu, go to navigation, and then on the routing, you can turn on speed camera chime right here. Next up is better route available. Navigation now shows you at the time of your turn list if a faster route becomes available. It will reroute unless you decline before the option expires. To choose how often you see these suggestions, adjust the number of minutes saved. In your vehicle settings, go to navigation, online routing, and reroute to save. To use this feature, you must have online routing turned on. So just like before, go into navigation, and then here's the reroute right here. So you can adjust the minutes. 1 minute is the minimum, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30, and 30 is the max. Usually 5 minutes is what I would choose. Next up, we have wiper controls. For the scroll wheel, when you press the wipers button to view wiper controls, you can now adjust wiper speed by moving the left scroll wheel up or down. And then if you use the wipers button, when you have the wipers set to 1, 2, 3, or 4, you can press the wipers button to cycle through the speeds. For example, if I press the button right here, it is now up on the screen, and I can choose 4, 3, 2, 1, auto, or off. If you wait a few seconds, it just disappears. So if you press the left button in for a few seconds, and if you have it set for wipers, then you can adjust it with the button. So let me try it right here. Press it again, and then if I press up or down, I can adjust the wiper speed. And then if I just let it go, it'll disappear after a few seconds. Next up, we have security improvements. This update includes important security fixes and improvements. This is normal. They usually don't give detail on what security fixes. Next, we have other updates. When you're parked, you can expand the browser to full screen. You can now swipe to delete Sentry Mode recordings in the Dashcam app on your vehicle touchscreen, or at security Sentry Mode alarm previews in the Tesla app if you have version 4.32.0 or newer. When you have valet mode on, your vehicle is unlocked or shifted out of park, you'll receive a notification on your phone. Arcade includes the latest game update for Polytopia, Path of the Ocean. There are some other updates if you have newer vehicles. I'll list those off. You can access car wash mode more quickly in vehicle setting controls. If you have a vehicle with a rear screen, rear passengers can now see current trip details, time, and temperature at the top of the rear touchscreen, except when entertainment apps are using the full screen. The Vampire Survivors game in Arcade now has Space 54 and Deplorable updates. And also, if you have a screen in your rear seat, if you have no passengers in the back seat, the rear touchscreen now turns off when you shift out of park to reduce unnecessary energy use. And that's it for the official listings that I have on my car. There are other things that have changed, so let me go over those right now. If you have a new Model 3, you have the new option of a hands-free trunk feature. Open your trunk even when your hands are full. Stand still behind your trunk with the phone key unobstructed. Listen for the chimes, and the trunk will open on its own. To enable this feature, go into the vehicle settings, locks, and hands-free trunk. Ensure that your phone settings allow nearby interactions for the Tesla app, or open the app and go to Phone Key Upgrade. Keep people and clothing clear of moving parts. This requires an iPhone 11 Plus and Tesla app 4.31.0 or newer. A future update will extend this feature to Android users. I'm not going to be covering the FSD features since I don't have that with my vehicle, but there's a lot of changes with that too. And for the full self-driving supervised, you need to go through and read the details on that. Also, if you have a newer vehicle with MCU3, you have Tesla Vision Park Assist. I still have the ultrasonic sensors and radar on my car, so I still have the regular display. I don't have the Tesla Vision Park Assist. And one of the biggest updates is visual updates on the main screen. This is a user interface version 12, which elevates your visual experience with the following updates. It has an immersive full-screen vehicle controls when you're parked, large playback controls and quick access to recent favorites and up next in the media player. You have expandable autopilot driving visualizations with a smaller map to the top right for trip guidance, and a sleeker and more compact drive mode strip and refined driving readouts. Although these visual updates don't show up as a feature for vehicles with Intel processors like my car, Intel vehicles do receive most of the features outlined. Intel infotainment units receive the new media player along with the new expandable autopilot visualizations. This includes having the new media player and the Navigate to centered when in full screen mode and having the map in the corner of the screen. For vehicles without FSD, this will allow them to have full screen visualizations for the first time. The only feature not included on Intel-based infotainment units right now is the new large visualization while parked, although this could arrive in a later update. So if I go out and look at the main screen here, my information is pretty much the same right here as it was before, so I don't get any big changes while I'm in park. If I am in drive, which I can't right now because my car is charging, so let me go disconnect the charger and then I will show you that detail. So here's the main screen. I've noticed that the fasten seatbelt warning is a little bit different now. It's in a card on the lower left. So let me plug that in and see what that looks like. Yep, then that goes away. Your information on the driving modes are on the top and left areas. If I press the gear selector into drive, I notice that the information now is much larger. The hold button, and if I am actually driving, let me see if I got, yeah, the 0 miles per hour is definitely a larger number on the screen here. Otherwise, I don't see much of a change on my screen since I have the original hardware 2.5 system. So I don't think I get to see any improvements here at all. And now for the fun part of the video, I get to talk about the undocumented features. I'm going to go down my list here and talk about those right now. When you're parked and rotate the vehicle in the visualization, there are now dots that you can touch to reveal buttons to access various parts of the vehicle, such as the front trunk or charge port. Vehicles with Intel processors also get the new buttons in this visualization. However, I'm doing that right now. The only buttons I see is for the hood and the trunk. Let's see, is there anything else on here? No, that's all I can see. but it looks really nice. Oh wait, here's another one here that I didn't notice. This little button right here. There's the charge port open. So yeah, so there are 3 that are showing up on my visualization. You may have more on your vehicle. Let's go into navigation. There's a new icon for the navigation app. If you bring up the menu on the bottom of the screen with all the apps displayed, there's a new icon for the navigation app. As you can see right here, it has a little map with a little arrow representing the car. The app is available in the All Apps menu and can be pinned to the dock at the bottom of the screen. Instead of having to minimize apps by swiping down or tapping the icon for the app that's open, users can now simply tap the nav icon to go back to Tesla's navigation screen. So, for example, if let me hold down the nav button, and then I can drag it down right here, and then let go. So now I have that on the screen. So, for example, if I have the cameras up and then I hit the nav button, it goes right back to the nav. So it's just kind of like a shortcut way of getting back to it. Next, if we press the menu again to get into all of the apps, there is now a climate icon. So the climate icon is right here. And now you can also add that to the vehicle's dock. Tapping the button brings up the vehicle's climate menu as an alternative to tapping the climate temperature. So let me take that, hold it for a second, and then drop it down here, and then close. So now if I click on this, it'll automatically bring up the full climate menu. It used to be you have to either press this button right here to get to it, or swipe up. For me, I don't think it's that much of a time saver to have a separate button right here, because all you need to do is swipe up here to get the same thing. So not sure how much use that is actually going to be. Another undocumented feature is in the Apple app. There is an explicit content settings under audio settings options that now applies to the Apple Music in addition to streaming and Apple products. So if I go into the Apple Podcasts, for example, and go into settings, now there are options for explicit content right here. So in any of the audio settings, you can turn this on and off if you wish. And now it applies to the Apple Podcasts. If we bring up the main menu, go to Dynamics. Steering mode has now been renamed to steering weight, which you can switch between light, standard, and heavy. I usually just keep it on standard myself. And the functionality is basically the same as before. It's just a renaming of the function. So if we go up to controls, it says that the controls menu has been updated to make it easier to find and select various options. The glove box option has been moved down to make the buttons for fold mirrors, child lock, and window lock larger. So yeah, so fold mirrors, child lock, and window lock are now larger. And now we have glove box moved down right here. So I'm guessing they did this for just ease of use with these buttons up here used pretty often. Make them larger so that they're easier to see and activate. The wiper controls now have an off and auto next to each other instead of the opposite corners. You have auto right here, you have off. So just a rearrangement of the functions for the wipers. And car wash mode has been added to the list of options for the Model 3 and Y. So you'll see car wash mode right here. Car wash mode closes all windows, locks the charge port, and disables windshield wipers, Sentry mode, walkway door locks, and parking sensor chimes. For automatic car washes with conveyor belts, the free roll option shifts to neutral and prevents the parking brake from automatically applying if you leave. Car wash mode will exit if the vehicle speed exceeds 10 miles per hour. So that's good to know. Next, we have the search settings. If I click this up here, the search box in settings has been moved to the top of the screen instead of being in the first section. This creates some additional space and makes the search box persistent, since you can now scroll through the sections, which include Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, since the update 2024.8. So let's look at Sentry mode. Let's turn Sentry mode on right now. When a Sentry mode event is detected, it will now create a 1-minute event video file called event.mp4 on your USB drive. This 1-minute video is in addition to the other video files that were already created when there's a Sentry mode event. It's also the same video that is available in the Tesla app when a Sentry mode event occurs. Now let's look at the media player. If we click on, for example, streaming, the media player here can use different inputs. You can have TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, USB, streaming, radio, Audible, Bluetooth, Spotify, among others that you can turn on and off. There's a new media player that's larger and easier to use. By increasing the size of the media player, Tesla is now able to fit additional options that were hidden previously, such as EQ and audio settings, the search button and shuffle and repeat options. So if you notice right here, there is a little media app card right here that used to be down. There used to be a button down here that you would press to bring up the full app. So let's go here and press this all the way. And if you don't have the main app showing, so let's see if there's a difference here. If I click on this, brings up the app. You have more information, like I just mentioned. You got more controls, you got your like, dislike, settings, and search. And then if you want more information, you can just click right here and it brings up the full app. So if you want to make this disappear, that one you can just slide. But this one also you can just slide down and it just becomes that little tiny card right there. If I click it again, and if I swipe to the side, you also get another card. You get your information on your trip meters, tire pressure, and that's about it. So depending on what you like to have up, you can have that one up. So for example, if I have this, shrink it down, it still shows the media player. Interesting. So if I click on that, it goes straight to media player. If I have the tire pressure and I shrink it down, if I press it back again, it goes to media player. So an interesting change that they did for this app. So the status bar that is along the top of the screen has been slightly rearranged. We have the lock, unlock, we have driver profiles, we have the garage door functionality, we have the Sentry mode button, we also have Wi-Fi and time and the temperature. Wi-Fi used to be way to the right, so they moved it over to be, I guess, a little bit easier to reach. So if you want to switch between the different modes, or if you want access to Bluetooth, you can click on that. And then you can just slide it away when you're done. Another thing is if I put it into gear, notice how large the telltale buttons are now on the screen. And the gear selector is definitely larger too. So when you're actually driving the vehicle, the speedometer itself is a much larger display. So you can see that right here. Okay, I just plugged the car in so you can see some information here on charging. We have 45 minutes remaining, charge limit 50%, gives the charge information. We got 1 kilowatt. It has added 0 so far. I'm at 5 out of 12 amps since I'm connected to my L1 EVSE. And I'm charging at 120 volts. So this information here is slightly different than when it was presented before when you were charging. So just a little bit different. On the main charge screen here, this looks very similar. We have our percentage for state of charge. I have it set for 50, but you can set it for 60, 70, 80 for daily. And if you want 90 to 100 for trips, you can do that right there. Here's the amp level. I have mine set to the minimum amp level just so I can just keep it around 50%. I think that's best for when you're not driving the car so much. For the battery, I think the best battery longevity is keeping the car right around 50%. You got your stop charging button and unlock charge port, and you can also do scheduling down here. So pretty normal, not too much of a change there. So that about wraps up my video on this update for 2024.14.6. Lots of little changes and some big changes if you have a newer vehicle. Unfortunately, mine's a 2018 with the original computer, and I don't get to see all the fun improvements that all the people in the newer cars receive. So that's definitely a lot of updates and much more than I've seen in over a year, and definitely, I think, even more than in the holiday update. While there's a lot of new things in this update, I think having my vehicle with the older processor is kind of showing the limits of how much upgrades can be done on the older hardware systems. If you do have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Stay tuned to future Model 3 videos that I have planned, along with my Fisker Ocean content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.